I was wondering if you differentiate between coaching and mentorship.
No, there's other podcasts or discourses that I've done on mentorship, and I think I did a Clubhouse session on mentorship. It's all ineffective emptiness.
So, for example, a PhD student, like doing a PhD under the mentorship of the senior, like scientists, you still think that kind of relationship is not?
Well, the point is not that I think. The point is that you don't think. To you, that's valuable. And I think that is the take-home message for you. And that as long as, see, you think that's valuable. There's nothing that I can say, nor do I have any interest in removing from you your belief that that's valuable. The fact is, you believe it's valuable, period. There's nothing more to discuss. The communication can happen, but it is about the entry into the bloodstream. And the entry into the bloodstream is desperately in need. The absolute non-negotiable prerequisite for that is a host which has the DNA for devotion to that truth. So in many ways, it is far more about the receiver than the giver. I don't know what it is that I do.
Okay.
Once again, you could turn any word into any word you like, right? You can call everything that I'm telling you now that I do or don't do, you can call that coaching if you wish. You can call an airplane flying overhead coaching. You can call it whatever you want. I mean, you can take that definition and make it as wide as you wish. But if one is sincere, he will want to know, and he will want to investigate the truth behind it, rather than playing word games. So what it is that I do, I don't know, but I don't coach any. I don't know. Perhaps you misunderstood. I've never been mentored by anybody.
Okay.
But perhaps I mentioned that Buddha was a master and Jesus was a master.
Yes.
I mean, they were not my mentors, but they absolutely were masters. And the interesting thing is, if you once again examine that, is it not interesting that those who tend to become sort of teachers are the ones who were never taught themselves? So no one mentored Buddha into becoming Buddha, and no one mentored Jesus into becoming Jesus. But everyone seeks to be mentored and coached. And whereas if they had open eyes, what they would see is the source of those things, the first person in that lineage, was never mentored. Therefore, the only question that then remains is, what does one believe to be what he wishes to gain from life? What value does he hold his own life at? To become one of those, or to become a coached mediocrity? Those who stand on the shoulders of giants tend never to become giants themselves.
But Newton is definitely a giant, right? I mean,
Well, listen, I don't know Newton. I've never spoken to him. So to believe someone's words and never having seen who they truly were, I'm not here to tell you that Newton was coached or wasn't coached, and that's an example of coaching and not coaching. I'm not here to credit or discredit coaching throughout history. Okay, I don't know who did what. This is for the person. This is not for me to sell you a line. This is not for me to convince you of something. If you want to bring something into the thing which says, look, I have evidence and this person said this and coaching works, I would say good for you. There's nothing more to say. The conditioning is too powerful. It doesn't mean that you as a human being created by the hand of nature was not imbued with the potential to find truth. It does not mean that. It is in fact the opposite of that. You do have the potential to find it. But I am speaking of practicality, not woo stuff. What's actually going to happen? It is not going to happen. The reason it's not going to happen, I don't believe in encouragement. I don't believe in discouragement. I'm just saying what it is. The reason it's not going to happen is because in order to arrive at the things that you're talking about, which are very wise pursuit, and actually where you are now is where many people who achieve their highest aims actually end up. And that is not an uncommon thing. But for you to find the truth, the level of devotion would need to be so high, and the clarity to see the conditioning would need to be so high that it would be that which dissolved the conditionings itself. So I've been working with human beings, specific human beings for years, and, very, very highly accomplished, world-class, famous people. And after years, they are now beginning to see, as you mentioned, the clarity in all of these things. And that only happened because through a consistent and systematic exposure to truth. It wasn't because they found it, and in all honesty, it wasn't really because of me. It was because of the power of the truth. Well, the truth arising is much down the road. The real question is one's level of devotion, one's level of willing to do anything to get it. That's the real question.
And that's what arises, and sort of the last thing that arises.
Well, no, that's the first thing that must be there. Because without that, there's nothing. Without the sincerity, there is nothing. There is nothing that can be achieved. Especially in this way. There is no coaching. If you coach, you'll coach people into being mediocre. And if you wish to do that, you're welcome to do so. Greatest confusion arose on the part of everyone when I would not tell them the things to do or not to do. So I did things in a very different fashion, and there's really nothing that I can tell you about because it was very intuitive. But it wasn't based upon do this and do that, and especially in their profession. In fact, I tried to do all that I could to keep them away from the world of coaching. But it's a good question, because at the end of the day, people have children, and they want the best for them, and they want to teach them the so-called right and wrong. But I think that the way to impart things is not through words, but through the way to impart things is not to want to impart them at all. Because in the end, the greatest fault of a parent, the greatest oversight, is to need from the child, instead of resolving one's own difficulties within oneself. The problem is never between one and the other. The problem is always internal. Listen, if a child is walking toward the stairs and they don't know that falling down the stairs can break their leg, if they don't know that, that's fine. This is not a rule. Once again, don't turn it into a rule that I cannot retrieve the child from the stairs, because that will be coaching. You can't turn it into a rule. It is about understanding the essence of what is being said, if one wishes to understand. It isn't about giving oneself a black mark because they coached. It is not about creating rules. Don't coach isn't a rule. It's about understanding the essence of it. And if one understands the essence of it, then they will find their own way because they have understood, because it means something to them, because it provides a form of effectiveness for them, not because it's a good thing to do. You have no idea. You have no idea what a bad business is. You have no idea. No one knows what's going to happen. So everyone's experience is based upon. I mean, this happens a lot in ethnic countries. This happens a lot in India. This happens a lot, all over the East. Which is, well, I think you should do this and it's all based upon past experience. It's all based upon hearsay. The parent doesn't know anything. The parent is an idiot. The parent has had a very limited, narrow lens life experience. And if a human being is devoted to something, the person who tells them that there's not any money in it, or it's a bad business, or it's a wrong thing to do, is speaking from the sense of average commonality. And to try to promote and to shower and dissipate one's commonality upon his children is virtually a crime.